Hey guys, what's up? Roshi is here. Today we're taking a look at the new bundle. It is $40 if you buy it off the website. You get an extra draft ticket, some gems. You'll get 32 packs from the new set, the avatar, this site monument, and then this card back, plus some cards you get to build and play with right away. Some of these cards are pretty good. We'll go ahead and show off what the cosmetic items look like real quick. And we'll go from there. Go through some of the new cards. So here's our guy. I'll just keep this hand. Doesn't matter. Monument looks sick. See if there's anything I can click on here. Might just be the guy himself. Clicking everywhere. I guess you can just click on this guy every turn or so. That seems to be it. For him, you wouldn't want that. Cool, cool. So, yeah, no, the card back looks pretty sick. Seems interesting. I would say that it's definitely aesthetically pleasing. Not sure how I feel about this guy as a card or as an avatar, but the rest of it's pretty cool. So for the cards, I just have them pulled up here in photos. Kind of jank, but it's where we're at. There's no communal place where all of these are posted yet, so I'll just go through them like this. So Devastation was spoiled today. Kill an enemy unit, a site, a relic, steal the enemy player's remaining power. Seems straightforward enough. I imagine most of the time, the steal the enemy's remaining power won't really matter all that much. It won't be too much. But when you can pull it off in the right matchups, I could see this being pretty sick. Like, if you're playing against the Conebriar ramp deck and you fire this off, you might get a ton of power. Now, whether you even have anything to do with your power at that point is something else, but I kind of like the utility of this card, and if you ever make full value of all 4 uses, I can see it being fine. It is a little overcosted, so not sure how much play this can really see. But when you do it big. Evacuation plan seems kind of like a more expensive stand together. I imagine you're playing this in like more of a combo oriented deck where like your abilities really matter, and maybe you combine all of your guys into some big Aegis, Overwhelm, life-stealing boss monster and still have the units left over in your hand to cast out. You can also use this with even-handed golem and stuff like that to recast them, or recast your market spells, or maybe rebuy a Maveloft Huntress and use her again. So some interesting possibilities here. I could see cards like Valkyrie Enforcer seeing play in like maybe an evacuation plan deck. But yeah, rebuying Enter the Battlefield effect seems solid. You could use this to dodge a harsh roll, but I'm not sure how often we're spending 4 power to do that, but when you do, I bet it's pretty good. Gentleman John D'Angelo. Each player chooses 2 cards in their hand to keep and puts the rest in their market. This is a very powerful effect in the right matchup, but I imagine most of the time this is going to be a little lackluster. They are going to keep their 2 best cards. It is dual-sided too, so, you know, if we're trying to just curve straight into this guy, we're probably going to be discarding some things ourselves. Where I can see this being important, if you really want to have like a market matters strategy. So I imagine if Blow the Dam is ever a deck, then we will be definitely playing Gentleman John D'Angelo in it, that's for sure, at least in the market. Nakas, this guy got errated, I think, to be an Oni soldier since the last time we've looked at him, but whenever you play a spell or weapon, you have the choice to amplify and dump your leftover power and grow him. Seems fine. Definitely not the worst thing you can be doing. I'm not sure how often these decks have leftover mana to spend, but it could get out of hand quite fast. You'd probably have to build a whole new archetype just to do it, where you're playing spells where like targeting matters and stuff. But yeah, I mean, Giant's Growth and all that, what is in this game, Finest Hour, stuff like that should be good with Nakas. Privilege of Nobility. I'm really excited for this card. I imagine it being more relevant in Expedition, where there's more Equalize flying around and more discard. There's lots of exploits flying around. And Merry Mandrake's more prevalent in that format. So Merry Mandrake lets you draw a card off that second half, and it's actually a not negligible amount of life gain you're getting from that. So I can see that card being just fine in Expedition, where you can spend 3 power, cash it in, gain a ton of life, and draw a card, and then gain even more life off the Mandrake trigger. Might be enough where aggro is just really annoyed. So, yeah, I see this being good there. The other deck it would be good in are the annoying clear the... I mean, the very cool clear the way decks flying around in Throne. It seems like Exploit would be just the kind of card you'd want to play against those decks. And being able to play Privilege of Nobility and get that out under an Exploit seems important. Yeah, that's pretty much it for that card. Not a whole lot else going on. Prosperity of the Reach. I think this card is going to be extremely powerful. I foresee a lot of go-wide strategies like Shrine decks making use of this card. And Reanimator decks will use this card. One of the cool things about it is when you're playing Reanimator decks, you usually have a lot of chaff minions you don't really care about getting put into your Void. And when that happens, we can just cash them in with Prosperity. Unfortunately, they will shuffle back into our deck, but we will get that card draw on an extra turn. On that note, I feel like Prosperity is more of a market card than a main deck card. Not a lot of decks are going to be able to do this more than like once a game. You know, maybe if you're playing against Mill, you'll do it more often, but in a lot of matchups, like against like Horukira or Yetis, you're not going to have time to be playing Prosperity of the Reach. Or if you do, you've already executed your plan to a satisfactory point that your plan should be winning. So I see this being more of a market card. Maybe Expedition has a deck where they're just dirtling around and discarding and they're able to like pull off Prosperity of the Reach. One other thing I think is kind of fun with this card is if you have like an Uxu and you're starting hand in some Mandrake decks, it can be very frustrating because it'll just be a 7-power 4/4. So if you do pull off the Prosperity of the Reach, that's one more like pretty big threat you just shuffled in, and maybe by the time it comes out, it'll be powered up. But that's such an edge case where you're both not dying and have time to like redraw into the minions. So I'm not sure how I feel about that, but yeah, seems like a very excellent market card. Pull this out against Mill. It'll buy you a ton of time, and if you don't just win off that extra turn. So I think Shoal Custodian is the last card, and put an enemy unit into their hand or deal 1 damage for each spell in their hand and increase their cost by 1. Pretty happy with both halves of this card. I can see this sliding right into my even Sentinels list in Throne, and I would definitely play it basically in any Sentinels list, honestly. Having a pretty aggressively caught, like 4/3 isn't the greatest, but it'll still attack pretty well. And a 4/3 that comes down and just bounces their best minion seems fine. Maybe don't bounce Dovid, but there's plenty of good things to be bouncing, and seems like it'll be a good tempo play, either to buy yourself time to get your own threats into play, or to just, in maybe a more aggressive strategy, just bounce a blocker and advance our board at the same time. Against matchups where they're not playing as many creatures, the other half of the deck, the card is quite relevant. I could see against like a unitless deck this doing like 3 to 5 damage just straight to the face and slowing down all their board wipes. Seems fine. I could also see you picking that mode against matchups like Argenport or Elysian, just because bouncing their 2-drop doesn't feel great. They just recast it. But if you make all their spells that like enable their 2-drops cost more, or make Know Thy Enemy and all their removal spells cost more, then maybe you'll be able to kill them before they really even cast their cards. So that's my thoughts on the new cards. I want to keep this brief. I think the new set, the new bundle, is worth buying, but I like shiny cards. I like shiny things. I like shiny stuff. I'm also a huge fan of these cards they're giving us right off the bat. I'll be excited to be brewing with these on my stream. Not really as excited to brew with Nakas, but definitely I'll be playing with Prosperity Dealer Reach and Shoal Custodian for this whole week leading up to the release. And there's a few cards I have my eyes on so far that maybe I'll do some deck building with those as well. So that's all for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch me out live on Twitch. Bye.